And I see Roger Marcoux with a second on behalf for the sheriffs. And any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye or raise your hand on screen.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? Okay, all abstaining. Great. Agenda's all set. Now I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last time we met 2 weeks ago.
There's some static going on there. I don't know if it's the government. I don't know if it's you, Tim, or somebody else, but it's like
it seemed to have stopped.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
There it goes.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
This is a good test because the entire court system is moving to Zoom. So this is a test of my ability to be fluid with technology, which is indicative of this alternative pathways. So I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from 2 weeks ago.
So moved.
Great, by Bill Clements, seconded by Roger Marcoux. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Okay.
Aye.
Any abstentions? I already said any discussion. Great. Agenda and minutes sorted out. And I think the first order of business is welcoming our guest, Bradley Naples.
I'm not far from you.
Tim, I think the sound's coming from you. It's like a ground. I don't know.
I'm going to mute myself.
Only when you're speaking. When you're speaking,
it's only when you're speaking. Yeah, it's like a grinding sound of some kind. I don't know.
It'd be your mic.
I'm struggling for words on how to describe it. And I'm not going to try to imitate it. So, okay. All right, here we go. Technical bumps seemingly resolved. As you know, I'd mentioned that the Response Network is one of those, is a company out there that's providing law enforcement training and has been doing so. I don't know, Brad, you're 15 years?
Yeah.
Plus, somewhere in that neighborhood. And he can talk a little bit about the company, but I thought it would be good for us to see a company that's out there working with a lot of law enforcement agencies around the and academies around the country and providing online training. And he's got, I'm sure Brad will walk us through some of the examples he's of things he's doing in other jurisdictions, some of which are pretty similar to ours, and some groups of departments that I think are analogous to having the Vermont Police Academy, for instance, for some pretty big regions, some state regions with a lot of departments that use a particular academy. I think, we could probably spend hours digging in to what's available, but I think that, we certainly could, and I know Brad would be willing, I'm speaking for you, Brad would be willing to entertain, meeting at some other time or providing access to the system if folks want to get in and look and dig around. The other thing I'll point out is that some of what he's doing in the company aligns pretty well, like the work that we're doing with IADList on the curriculum development, the assessment, learning objectives based in the job task analysis. All of that is really good foundational work for the online training, and there are a number of agencies I know in that system and Brad's system that have done very similar things, tying very concretely job task and learning outcomes into the training itself and the assessment part, the testing and assessment part. So I'm going to get out of the way. I'll turn it over to you, Brad.
Okay, thank you, Bill. So, hello, everyone. So, yeah, the company's been in business for 15 years. I got this idea by being in New York on 9/11. And after going through that and being in the entertainment industry and it really advanced technologies, I decided to get out of that and do something good for first responders as I watched one of the buildings go down. So that's what generated this. And then I eventually ran into Bill and the IACP, et cetera. And it took about 5 or 6 or 7 years to get it going. And so we've been in business 15 years. We're all over the country. We've worked with major city departments, Detroit, Jacksonville Sheriffs, Detroit PD, Miami PD, Texas Highway Patrol, Texas Game Wardens, Norfolk Southern Railway Police. Um, so I mean, I'm so enmeshed and deep into law enforcement that I really know it kind of inside and out from a managerial CEO point of view, but also I give my cell phone out to every law enforcement officer who uses our product because if they need help, they can always call me. So we give great support and we focus on building content that is educational as well as training. And we hire the best subject matter experts, Randy Means, Dr. Theron Bowman, Eric Daigle, and others around the country who are sort of like on the cutting edge of issues that are out there. And so what I'm going to do. I mean, this system is so vast with a platform, administrative platform, technology, mobile apps, um, custom software for roll call, video messages from chiefs to do on their own. It's so vast that you can't really give it justice in the time we have. But let me just sort of show you one. So, so I'm now in the state of down in Virginia in the Central Shenandoah Law Enforcement Academy in the Shenandoah Mountains. And they have, I think about 58 agencies and 2,200 personnel. And all those agencies, all those officers go through the academy, and the academy decides each year among our library of courses which courses they want to offer. So these are the courses that they're offering right now. And so they go in and they select them and they tell us what to post. So every year they rotate the
Brad, we can't see your screen. You're going to have to share
oh
it.
yeah, right. I forgot about that. Sorry about that. I share my screen. There you go. Okay.
There
So
we go.
now you can see it. Okay, sorry about that. Um, so this is Shenandoah, and it's Heather Gerhardt is the administrator there. Let me get rid of this. And so, for example, here's combating human trafficking, cybercrime, de-escalation of interpersonal contact, duty to intervene, emotional intelligence. I mean, it goes on dealing with trauma in correctional facilities, bias training, uh, the manipulation game, and for jailers, managing trauma and survivor's guilt, done by a Afghanistan medic and a doctor in psychology, U.S. Supreme Court legal updates. Then we do the Virginia legal updates for them because this is in Virginia. Then we have, I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, and then down here, I can show you in my own login some custom courses we've done for Miami PD on their high risk felony stops. So if I go in here, you can see there's roll call training. I can do a message from leadership, agency news, agency training. They can self-publish training, agency policies. All the policies can be in the system. They can have them on their mobile apps. So there's no excuse they don't know their policy. Two things I've learned with law enforcement officers, they always forget their constitutional rights. They always forget their policies. And that's the first thing the plaintiff's attorney, where's your policies, where your training, and did they follow their constitutional rights? And so we have all this stuff here for to make it easy. So you can watch a roll call training on a mobile phone. You can watch it here. You can get a message from a chief. You can get agency training, or you can get the policies and you can test them on the policies, which I can show in a minute. And under administration, if I go to roster, so they have all these tabs. So here's the roster for and reports, credit hours, course assignment, online testing. So you can test anybody from all over the state. So if I go here and I click this down, these are all the agencies under the Shenandoah Criminal Justice Training Academy. As you can see, there's well-known ones. So for example, there's Now am I in, where am I? Yeah, I'm actually here. I went, it switched on me. Let me go out of here. It switched back to Crater. Hold on, sorry about that. I think when I hit something, uh, uh, that was the Crater Agency out of the Richmond area. Uh, let me go here. All right. So this is we're getting mobile numbers because it's so easy to reset your password that way. That's really the only problem we ever have, people losing their passwords. So if I go back to administration and I click on so they have 58 agencies, Albemarle County Police. This is around Charlottesville. And then you have the Charlottesville Sheriff's Office, Charlottesville Police Department, Dayton Police Department, James Madison University is in here, right up here. Then you have like Shenandoah Police Department, University of Virginia, Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources. So they have quite a few agencies in here, like I said. And so you could click on any agency and drill right down to the officer. So I can go to Charlottesville, and this is the roster. So I can find anybody in Charlottesville. I can find their completed courses. I can see what they're training. I can see if they're active. There's their email. I can reset their password. So everything is real simple and easy to use for staff at the academy level. And if I need a report, if I want to go to a different agency, for example, I can go down here to James Madison University. So now I'm in James Madison University, and I can see any officer who's taken training, etc. If I look at their training logbook, they didn't take any courses at this time, so there's nothing there for them. But if you want to pull a report on any agency, you've got select all agencies, individual agencies, select all to include in the report, select individual officers so you can drill down on one officer, select all courses, select individual courses. Do you want still in progress, completed, or they're not started? And then you put a span of date in it, and it pulls up the exact report. And in Texas, we deal with TCLEDs because we're approved in Texas, and we have an API that when a person finishes their course, it's automatically reported to TCLEDs every night at 11:45 Central Time. We pull any course that's been done during the day and submit it to TCLEDs. It's all automated, so we do that for them. And so we have credit hours. Now in Virginia, they don't do what other states do. In Texas, it's just first responders. But in Virginia, they give credit hours by legal, career development, and cultural diversity. And so each category has how many hours you're going to get if you take the course. And so every officer gets this if they want it. And I'll show you another view in a minute. But they get this and it's like a menu, they can decide which courses they want to take. If you want to assign courses to anybody, you can pick the agency you want to assign it to. I'm going to go down here to Charlottesville Police Department. Now I can go down and click any officer over here, all of them, or individual people. I can go over here and click a course and I can assign it to that individual. So if I went here and clicked emotional intelligence and clicked, let's say, police, all of them, and if I went down here and say assign course, every one of those officers are going to get that course. And so it's a very simple system to use, and that comes out of years of dealing with technology and high profile clients and making technology easy. That's really my motto. And it's hard when you're dealing with software people, they don't have that approach. And so I sometimes have to beat them into understanding, but it's a very simple system. And then we have an online testing system. we can show you later on. And if you want to see some courses, well, let me just go over here. This is Crater Academy in Virginia. And so what the director wanted there is he wanted preset menus for their in-service training. So they take their academy, they go to the academy for 22 weeks, then they go to field training, and then after that they have in-service. Some is in the classroom, most is online, because with the deficiency of law enforcement officers in a lot of agencies and the cost of getting them to and from the classes, they take all their in-service for their period. It's all online. Everything's online. And so if they need to customize, so this says duty to intervene for Virginia, we tweak it for them because it's for them. And here's their Virginia legal updates for last year, and we have one for this year. And this is, so if you're a court security civil process in the courtroom, you have to take 16 hours over your in-service period. If you're a jailer, you have to take 24 hours. If you're a law enforcement officer, you have to take 40 hours of 36 hours. Let me see, 34 hours of career development, 2 hours of cultural diversity, and 4 hours of legal, which you can go back to this display that I showed you earlier, that those credit hours, and pick what you need. Or if you're a police officer and you just want to click this display, where that it went back to her. How did that happen? How did they get out of that? It keeps going back to this other person. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's doing that. Kind of strange. Um, let's see if I can do that again. PARSL 3YRY3. All right, so no thanks. So down here, if I wanted to get my law enforcement 40 hours and I didn't want to think or go do a menu, I just click this and it updates the display. And if I'm an officer and I just go right down that list, when I'm done, I got my 40 hours. So they don't have to, as the director said, he wants to make for those who don't want to think about it, it's just easy. So they have these presets. And so under administration, we have other custom software features like you can do roll call training. You can do the message from leadership and send out video messages to your staff right on their phone. You can do news, training. You can insert all your policies for them, and they can also be tested on it. So if I go here and click it and look at it, this one doesn't have policies because they didn't upload them, but you can upload all your policies here and you can do testing on it. So if I go back to here real quick, just for the heck of it, I'll log into a different, show you some courses real quick. No, that's not the right one. So for example, I said we do custom courses. So let me just go way down here. Here is the high-risk felony stops for Miami PD. And as you can see, we did Miami-Dade County Public Schools for emergency lockdown procedures. You have about, I don't know, three or 400 schools and 300,000 people. So they wanted a course on emergency lockdown procedures. So if I go here, I go down here, this is their high-risk felony stops. They were having a lot of trouble with the way officers were conducting themselves with felons, and they were rushing up to the cars, and there was a lot of injuries and death and needless action. So they wanted to establish a cadence that every officer would follow, and this training provided that type of training that they needed, that everybody got on the same page. And one of the things they wanted was some like some video live action. So I'll just open this up and
All aspects of Miami police training are designed and committed to protect the constitutional rights of individuals they
now that's the actual training officer doing the narration.
encounter. Our training courses employ strategies to build community partnerships to effectively increase public trust and safety.
So the idea here is this is a whole video that goes for 9 minutes and 22 seconds. And we're not going to watch all of it, but I'll fast forward in it, of the cadence they want the officers to use, that everybody, when they're doing a felony stop.
Everybody up? We all set?
Set.
Set. Driver, lower all the windows of the vehicle.
So he explains everything here. And then the officer actually comes over here and explains it.
When we provide callouts, one of the things that I try to instill to the officers is, one, try to get away from using the PA system. Using the PA system puts you tactically in a bad spot behind a driver's side door of a car or a car door, period. Our officers are trained from day one of the academy that your car door will not.
And so we've got their learning objectives here.
All aspects of MPD training are designed and committed to protect the constitutional rights of individuals they encounter. Our training courses employ strategies to build community partnerships to effectively increase public trust and safety. Learning goals. Officers will know and understand how to perform high-risk felony traffic stops. To that end, officers will review the latest tactics concerning vehicle positioning, effective use of backup officers, the importance of maintaining cover points, principles of contact and cover, the importance of sound communication skills, and possible issues they may encounter during the course of a high-risk felony traffic stop.
So
Objectives.
hold on.
1. Officers will be able to summarize the necessary safety factors to consider when deciding when and where to.
So basically, I mean, we can build anything you want. We can distribute anything you want. You know, it's a very rich media platform. And so the content is
Conduct a high-risk felony traffic stop.
the content.
Officers will be able to explain how to safely initiate the stopping sequence when.
I gotta get it to shut up. The content that we produce is very rich. It's very enticing. Officers love it. It's not boring. We now are introducing interactivity into the courses. So if you're in the middle of a video, it stops you and asks questions, so you can do knowledge retention. And so, I mean, you know, there's just a whole bunch of different courses that we can show you, but we don't have time to do that. But I can provide to you a login to see any of the courses that you would want to see. I'll just show you one last one, and then take any questions that you want. And let me see what this is. There it is. So, for example, there's a lot of suicides today, we know, in this world because of social networking and mental issues. And a lot of officers, they get a lot of calls for substance abuse, addiction, mental illness. So we worked with PBS and we developed a course called Facing Suicide, Important Insights. And every officer who has seen this has really been touched by it and moved. And there's a lot of issues in law enforcement with this too around the country. And so it makes them think twice about treating every stop. This is just another addiction person. This is another, I don't even know if he's autistic. We have courses on autism, Alzheimer's. So I can show you a little bit of this. Oh, actually, let me do this. Where did that go? Open a new link. Okay, there you go.
Lonely, really lonely. When you're depressed, man, the only thing you can think about is yourself. I did have a lot of people there for me, but I was just pushing them away, not even giving them a chance.
The community has a role to play in preventing suicide. You can come around that individual to remind them they're worthy. There is help.
So there's all these sections. Stress and depression can affect anyone. Intervention, work, science of the brain, genetics and environmental factors, the value of peer intervention, the interpersonal theory of suicide, the safety plan invention, the Denmark example. So like our courses are not the normal courses. We just don't do talking heads. We hire the best experts. We make it rich. We stress learning, education, as well as training. Mr. Perkett has a question, right? I can see his hand up. Chris Perkett, raised hand.
Sorry about that. I couldn't find my mouse to unmute myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Mr. Naples, a lot of what you've shown us thus far looks like more in-service training.
Yeah.
Well, one of the main thrusts of our working group is alternative pathways to initial law enforcement certification, sort of alternative education modalities towards initial certification in lieu of the, for us, 20-week, it sounds like where you are 22-week residential certification program. Does your company do anything that either assists or enhances that initial certification training?
Well, in Virginia, the academies use some of the courses that we build as part of their training. They do most of their recruit training in the academy, but they also give to the students, like jailers or law enforcement recruits, they give them our courses to take based on like use of force, duty to intervene, stuff like that. So they are taking it. So if you had content that you wanted customized to any specificity, we can easily build that. That's simple. I mean, we do it all the time. So right now it's kind of blended with them. Some of them use it for well, I think all of them use it for their recruit training, as well as we have technical colleges around the country that teach criminal justice and people who want to go into law enforcement, and they use it in their curriculum to teach the officers. But if you have specific courses of leading a person through a training curriculum to be certified after so many hours of training, you could use some of these things and some of our courses and redo them a bit, or you just give us the lesson plan and we can build it. And it usually takes a week or two to build a course, and it's up and running and posted and people can take it. And hopefully that helps a little bit. Did that answer a little bit of the question?
I think it answered a little bit of the question. So if I'm hearing you right, is Virginia using the curriculum programs that you put together in the classrooms as part of their residential program?
Yeah, both
Okay.
in the classroom, and then they give it's extra stuff they have to do. So if they're talking about, like in Virginia, they have the state criteria on every possible condition, and that criteria drives the training in the academy, and it drives the testing. week by week. So I think a jailer class is 18 weeks, law enforcement's 22 or 24. And so they're providing in classroom education, and then they augment it with some of this stuff here. And then if they need anything customized, we do that too.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions? So I have all your emails that I think Lindsay sent. And if you would like a access to it and to demo it on your own, we could provide that. We do that all the time. So as I said, you know, you get the whole thing, and we don't charge for this or that, and everything's a la carte. It's one price per officer per year, and you get the whole platform. And just to show you one last thing, how advanced and because a lot of younger officers are more technology oriented, they find it more convenient. The material is can be redone. They can go back and check it. So here's Randy Means, Dr. Theron Bowman. We have Eric Daigle, Julie Solomon. She's all over the country. Melba Pearson. She's at FLETC. Lila Zidan's at FLETC. We have a course called The Complex Duties of a Sergeant. And because if somebody wants to be a sergeant, they don't know what they're getting into, they might want to watch this so they understand what their role is. This is our website, trnpc.com. This shows you every feature administratively, what we offer. And then down here is our new mobile app, which is very
TRN's new mobile app is a giant leap ahead of all competition for law enforcement training by providing focused applications to ensure your officer's training is highly effective. The username and password are saved in the app, preventing forgotten password reset issues. Our native mobile app bypasses traditional web browsers and their inherent issues, allowing your in-service courses to stream easily and seamlessly. Our simple, intuitive interface gives you access to video messages from your chief or sheriff, useful when leadership wants to deliver a personal message to all their staff at once. Roll call training gives agencies the ability to create short, customized training by selecting separate elements of our vast library of topics and present them to your officers as a specific targeted roll call training. The app has the ability to host all your agency's key high liability policies in one location with instant access for all officers. There's also the ability to create agency custom training on any topic that is needed by your specific agency. With agency news, you will find messages of importance to all agency personnel. All trainings can include follow-up assessments for knowledge check retention, and notifications will alert officers of any new training or messages for them to view. TRN's new mobile app is changing the face of law enforcement.
So what's in Virginia, I think out of 7,000 officers, I think more than half, at least more than 4,000, they will only use them. They'll use a tablet or mobile app because browser, it makes it easier for them. And all their certificates are stored in the system, in the app, so they can quickly um, go to it when they need to and find their certificates and email it to anybody they want. It's very simple. It's a very easy system to use. And so if there's any questions, no other questions, or and I'm close to you. I mean, I'm not far from, I live in Hanover, New Hampshire, so I'm not far from the academy, and I think I've been there once about 10 years ago. So you're close. Not Hi, Bill. What's up?
Oh no, you were asking for questions. It was more an observation. I had to find somewhere to. I'm not accustomed so much to Zoom. I had to find where to raise my hand. It's really I think folks might benefit from going in. There's a pretty big catalog of courses, and I think Chris Burkett's question was a good one. Is this for the academy or in service? But it's for both. For a lot of the agencies that I'm aware of that are using this, they use it as a supplement or a part with their academy, and then there's just a lot of online resources that can be customized to include Vermont policy or procedures, etc. And there's just a lot there. Nothing that could be demoed. I would recommend if you were interested to reach out or through Lindsay or directly to Brad to get access to go in and cruise through the catalog and to see what's there. It fits into some of the things we've been talking about. Clearly, it's in service. Um, there's a huge in service component to this, but there's a lot of others depending upon the different kinds of pathways we're talking about, different places for where this could fit in. And I think just aligned as I was reflecting back on the report the consultants gave us in the spring, they pointed out online providers, and so this is one of the major online providers that I thought would be good to kind of see what's out there, from the
Right.
management system of it um, to what the content is and the ability to work in, I think, pretty affordably. You probably noticed down on the bottom of one of Brad's menus, I actually ran into Brad and he had his company design some learning objects for our online programs for some pretty complex topics like field artillery in math and stuff like that that we incorporated into our online courses. So there's quite a bit there. I just would recommend going and looking and seeing what's in there.
Yeah. As far as pricing, it depends on volume, but if it starts off at $45 per year per officer and you get everything, you don't get restricted. And as the volume goes up, it can go as low as $25 per officer per year, which is the cheapest you're going to find from any provider. And we don't limit you we don't gate the number of courses. Some providers will sell you X and only give you so many courses. And so we're very fair in our pricing, and as we add new courses during the year, we just put them in the library and you get new courses. And so every contract year lasts a year, and usually most people sign up for a 2-year period. And I don't think in Virginia we have had them for 6 years, and they've only had one price hike in 6 years, and it was like 15%, and then that was it. And so, and one other thing I wanted to tell you, the when the Border Patrol in Texas was dispatched to the border for all the chaos going on, they were having some really bad problems with their use of force report, and they were getting sued kind of left and right. And so they contacted me and said, could we take your use of force course and then give you, and with our integrate our policy into the course, and then integrate our actual form that the officers fill out and a body cam video of an actual event, and have the officers go through the course, listen to our staff members introduce each section, have our policy integrated into the material, and then at the end of the course, they watched the video of the encounter of a couple of people that the Border Patrol stopped, where one grabs his gun, and then what comes up next is their exact report that they filled out, and they had to write a report. And then when they were done writing the report every 10 officers went to a captain to review the report they were writing, and so that's pretty customized to integrate their whole report form and everything. And we actually do have a new report writing course coming out by a national expert it's called Report Writing in AI, because AI is going to dramatically affect areas of law enforcement reporting. And so the question is, what's the standard that agencies are are going to allow or not allow, because young people who aren't that great at grammar and diction and writing, they're going to go to AI and use that. And so then the question becomes, who's writing the report? And so, I mean, these things are good and bad. So that course comes out, I think, in another 6 weeks. So that's pretty much it. I mean, if you'd like to get access to it through Lindsay, and let me know, and we don't care. We give you an access to it. You can play with it. And if you want me to come and visit, I can come and visit. It's only an hour and a half away. So. So.
Thank you, Brad.
Oh, you're welcome. Hi, Lisa. So I guess that's it then, Bill. So
I'm
hi, Tim.
testing my audio again here. Is it any better there, Bradley?
Yeah,
Much
yep,
better. Much
yeah.
better.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Well, thank you so much for that. It was very informative, and I think gave us a look into some of the national picture, and your interaction with so many different entities is something I know I was looking for. Just was so Vermont centric, I think, in terms of how I view the world in many respects. I always appreciate getting lifted out of that and seeing what's happening in other locations. One question I had, in terms of urban versus rural interactions, Vermont can in many ways be categorized as almost 100% rural agencies, although Burlington, Rutland, and there's a couple exceptions. I'm sure they, in terms on the agency, but any takeaways in terms of your interactions with rural versus urban in this type of environment?
No, I mean, Virginia has and Texas, I mean, and they all have agencies that are 10 people, or they have agencies that have 510 people. And so there's no difference. It's, I think the only difference really is in some ways it depends on their internet signal and their bandwidth. But most people I mean, we have agencies around the country that are as small as 5, and we have agencies that are large as 900, and we've had agencies as large as 3,800. So and major cities, and I've been in consent decrees, and so it's ubiquitous. I mean, it's small agencies don't have it. We have some agencies in New Hampshire that use it, and we have some agencies we have about 60 agencies in New Jersey that use it, and in Florida. So it really doesn't matter in size. Um, they all use it, so it doesn't really. I mean, even the Virginia academies have some small agencies.
One follow up would just be in the states that have the multiple academies. Vermont has just the one. Some of maybe the trends you've seen in uptick and or issues in the multi academy states that you've worked in.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, in Virginia, the academy approves the training, and so and there are two types of academy: independent, and then there's the agency academies like Virginia Beach, Alexandria PD, Norfolk PD, and they all have academies, and they approve they approve the criteria, they set the credit hours, and then they submit that to the state of Virginia, and I think there's 30 different academies in the state, and they're all a little different on how they approach the courses they decide to give out and the credit hours they decide on. and so they're now in Vermont. It's a state of, I don't know how many officers are in the state, but the academy would be the ground zero. And so everybody could get the training, and they could be told how many hours they get in service, or if you want to do that sort of degree towards a certification class, you could do that. That would be a separate area of the platform. And then they go in and take their training. And with your records management system, we would just build an API, like TCLEDs, like in Texas. It's all automatically updated every day on anybody who completes the course. Or the academy administrator could just drill right down to that individual and see if they've taken the course. So it's, I mean, you can see the academy could see everything. I mean, it's a one-stop shop. So we don't, we don't see any. Everybody's got a little bit different twist on how they want to provide training. In Virginia, the one I showed you the first time, they only let 10 of their agencies, the bigger ones, get the courses up front. If you want to get a course, you have to go through the academy and they approve you. The other academies provide the courses and let the local administrator of the agency assign it to their officers. So everybody's a little bit different. So that's how that works.
Well, thank you so much.
Tim, to follow up on your question, which caught my eye because I know a little bit about what Brad's doing, was the Virginia case, because and I think what the example that Brad showed us looked fairly analogous to Vermont. You had kind of a regional academy with 50 something departments that are aligned with that academy and use that academy. So think of it, the whole Shenandoah Valley is just kind of a microcosm, if you will, of what, in terms of size and number of agencies, et cetera, oriented around one academy. That concept about how they use it in that way. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think how many agencies are in the state of Vermont? Any idea?
Ken, you're on. You're on next anyway. How many, Ken?
I think we're around 54 at the moment. We could ask Lindsay, who's been doing all of the work to get those into our new records management system. But I think with constables, sheriff's departments, municipalities, smaller departments, and state entities, we're somewhere around 54 agencies.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we can handle up to hundreds. So it doesn't really. I think the issue just becomes administratively, where does the burden fall? And we are always asked to, we back up the academies and help them all the time because we have a very good customer support system. But 54 agencies in the state, that's pretty straightforward and would not be a problem at all, and pretty easy to set up. And so again, if anybody would like to get access to it, just let Lindsay know and give me your email and we will get it to you. You can have access to it and look at some of the courses.
Thank you so much for coming and chatting with us today and being a part of our expert testimony.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. And
you can count yourself as an expert if you haven't already.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know more than I ever thought I would know about law enforcement. But it's I'm glad you paid your bill so you can get good internet now, and so whatever. But it probably was a connection. But anyway, thanks everybody on the call. I appreciate your time. And again, if you want anything, you can get me through Lindsay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everyone.
All right, now I'm in my comfort place, my teams.
I didn't know he was hanging up on everybody.
I know. I was like, oh wait, whoops, hold on.
Okay, we're back.
I'll ping people a little bit here.
It's my favorite thing about Teams is the ping.
Yes, agreed.
Looks like we all have the right instincts. We just jump back to Teams.
You know, it's our training from council meetings when we go into exec session and pop out. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can.
Here, want me to, maybe I'll just say we are now back on Teams regular link. So our guest had the Zoom. So I don't think we need to recall the meeting to order. I think we're just gonna constructively continue. I think we're good on that. But I do wonder about quorum here. We don't.
Call in some people. Let's see.
Maybe some folks thought I was getting out of school early.
Well, some like Manley had to go to a meeting, so he left.
Vagar says he doesn't have it.
I'm calling people.
Yeah, Vagar said he doesn't have it.
There's like 2 Teams links.
I went to the one that Lindsay started. That's how I knew it was a good one.
Same. But now Ken's
Ken's on the other one. Yeah.
And Vagar's on this one.
Wait, Ken's on a different one? I'm just calling people in who, okay, hold on. I think she'd pull away too. Okay. Ken.
I don't know who wants to be the owner of the meetings, but there is like they're duplicative because there's one from Chris and there's one from Lindsay for the same time and everything. So maybe one of you wants to delete one of them.
Yeah, Chris, if you can delete yours. I'm not able to access any of the recordings after they end. So I sent a new one so that I could access them. But then it probably just confused everyone.
I think I just admitted Tony. That's good. Cool.
Okay.
An exercise in 2025 abilities. We're doing good. Maybe give it a little bit longer here. I'm gonna send the link over to Roger. But we got Mark here, so we do have a sheriff voting member. That's good.
Maybe not.
We got Ken, most importantly, for the next agenda item.
Well, we do have quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Yes.
You tell me go on the recording, and we'll hand it off and keep it rolling.
Okay, you're good to go.
Okay, great. Well, we're back, and that was Bill. Thank you for lining that up. Thought that was very helpful and a good piece of testimony for us to keep in terms of that national picture. Very much so. And in light of our wonderful in-person visit last week, where Ken was describing lots of good things in person, I know you're right in the mood to demystify how things are going, and just kind of a 101, I think, for what it looks like in the 17 weeks that you have the in-person academy right now for the level 3s.
Absolutely. So again, thanks to everybody that was able to come down, and folks that weren't able to be here, please feel free. We're an open house. So if there's anything that we can, as Tim said, demystify for you, we're happy to do that. So the current level 3 basic curriculum is roughly 832 hours of both classroom scenario-based training, hands-on psychomotor skills, firearms, EVOC, you name it. We're incorporating all of that in a 17-week program that used to be 16 weeks up until 2022. Prior to that, it was 12 weeks up until 2002. Essentially, the model has looked similar, although not the same, for that duration of time. What has happened and what has changed is the amount of scenario or in-person training that we're doing on a regular basis to incorporate as many of the different aspects of the major blocks of academia as we can. So to, I guess, clarify a little bit, things like courtroom demeanor, interpersonal communications, criminal law, those are things that we practice in a courtroom with a sitting judge, with a defense attorney and a prosecutor, and going through a domestic violence affidavit that's been put together by the students as part of a scenario that they physically went through. The report writing staff will go through, pick the very best of that and the very worst of those submitted. They'll typically, lately, take the worst of those and have them actually present to the court, have them be eviscerated on the stand by either the public defender and or the prosecutor, let the judge laugh at them a little bit and get some real life feedback about exactly how it is that they're doing so far. As part of a learning process where their classmates are part of the jury, typically one of them, if we can't find somebody else to role model, will also be witnesses and or victims and or the defendant in that same trial. So we're trying very hard to make sure that along with that, things like traffic court, things like de-escalation and the final base scenarios, domestic violence, all of those different iterations are touched upon at least once during the time that they're here. I will not say, and we do not profess to be able to show or demonstrate a mastery of many of those skills. This is still basic training. That's done with the recognition that once they leave here, there is still a field training officer period that they're going to go through with their respective agencies. And that will continue the training for that student, and everything from the policy to the actual application of law on the street, to be actually able to see it with a seasoned officer who is going to help them through that training process. Typically, the duration of a normal field training program is 12 weeks. Again, it depends on what they're being trained to do or what they're being asked to do by their respective agencies. That could be less or it could be more, again, depending on what their field is going to look like. That's the full-time. Of that full-time, again, roughly 832 academic hours to include PT, DNC, or admin time, and again, all the academics that we're looking at. That's broken up into blocks right now to include things like professional demeanor, physical fitness, the law blocks, investigative procedures, patrol procedures, communication, etc. Now that you all understand at least part of that, let me caveat all of that with saying we're in the middle of an IATLS review where all of this is essentially being rewritten in a way that makes sense from a collegiate or from an academic standpoint, where there are lesson plans for each and every one of these blocks of instruction to include all the learning objectives, all the requirements for and success to be able to pass a final written exam in each of the respective blocks, quizzes throughout, scenarios throughout, and then a final written that's essentially the go, no go at the very end of the program that will allow the student to graduate with a certificate or not. So that's kind of a high level view of where we're at now for the full-time basic. Are there any questions that I can help with on that?
No, 17 weeks, lickety split. No worries. I think that's, I feel fully briefed. I mean, one of the things I think I'd be interested in, particularly just because we're fact finding, and even if we don't include all this in the report, if anyone were really interested in digging beneath what will probably a more brief report, in some ways, watching this video could be informative for them. So is there any areas where you wish that you had another day for something? I know that everything probably feels that way, but if you had to identify one or two things that keep you up at night in terms of the in-person, and maybe one or two things, and we can block Chris's ears and Bill's ears about, hey, maybe we need a little less time on this in person because it seems like something that's slightly more intuitive, and and you can also defer and say you want to think about it too, but just because you're there with them now and you just went through some of the stuff, anything on those two fronts?
That's almost a setup, and I'm going to do exactly what you asked me to do, and ask the executive director to maybe put himself on pause for a second. I think it would be very easy, even for all of us as a group, to take a look at the current summary and identify areas where we all know there needs to be additional time spent. Mental health training, de-escalation training, tactical medicine training, firearms training. They get 20 hours on the range, along with 8 hours of classroom time where deadly force and handgun safety are concerned. I would argue that we're a little bit behind in terms of the number of hours that are required there. EVOC training, because it's near and dear to my heart, along with firearms. I think there's some additional hands-on training that we could or should be doing. Some of that's facility, that we're not able to do right now, but some of it's also training that we know we're not doing any off-road recovery, which in Vermont, if you don't know how to go from pavement to dirt and back onto pavement again, that can be a challenge, particularly if you're driving a truck these days. Criminal law, I think, is fairly solid. I think we've got a really good group of instructors already that have put together a really nice package with criminal law. Motor vehicle law, I think the same. I can't, off the top of my head, identify areas where we could do less. The one that keeps me up at night is use of force, non-lethal. We just don't have enough time in the gym, in the classroom, over the period that we're talking about to make me feel confident that given a non-lethal use of force scenario that may occur as soon as they've graduated, that they are where we would like them to be, and that they have the techniques and the psychomotor skills down to a muscle memory point where we and they should both feel comfortable.
Thank you. I think that's helpful and aligns with some of the survey responses that we received from field staff and agency heads as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think, any other questions for Ken? I thought it was very helpful to be down there in person, and having legislators down there too was great. Bill.
No, it's not a question. Is someone who got in the car to do as a passenger in the EVOC driving, hearing you talk about we're kind of constrained at 35 miles an hour, right, with the space you have and everything, but actually getting in the car, I could, it was pretty interesting, even at 35 miles an hour, but I could also see it underscored for me the need that you need a better training facility to get higher speed and to do all the things. So you can really see the limits by observing what you were doing. So I thought it was very helpful. I think we had a couple, Senator Keisha Ram, she was there, right? Hinsdale Ram, she was there. Yeah, too bad we didn't have more of them there. Got to, to kind of see that and see what the constraints were. The benefits of doing it, of course, but also the constraints of it. So that was just an observation.
Those high liability training areas that you just identified, specifically with EVOC, are things that when we talk about all of us staying up at night, we talk about pursuits. We talk about real life things that are occurring on our highways today, where an officer going from a standstill identifies someone on radar or LiDAR that's exceeding the speed limit, and they have to catch up on the highway. And how many times over the last year did we identify people operating on our highways at over 100 miles an hour? Well, the closing speed to catch up to that person that's traveling at that speed from a stop, I'm going to guess is probably more than 100 miles an hour. And I could be wrong, but I'm not.
You'll need a plane.
Right? And now we're asking people, well, in our case right now, we've got an 18-year-old kid in our classroom who's doing great, and he's reasonably mature for his age, but I will submit that he is not fully formed up here. And we're going to put him in a car with a V8 engine, and we're going to tell him, hey, go out and enforce traffic laws. And when he gets into a pursuit, or maybe somebody just doesn't stop in the period of time that we would like them to do so, and he continues to engage, does he have all of the training? Does he have all the necessary experience? And does he have the emotional maturity to recognize time to shut it down, or no, this makes sense because perhaps that vehicle is a threat to others on the highway. We're asking a tremendous amount of these folks when they come out of here. And we're not necessarily able to provide all of the training and all of the aspects for all of the things. And that's okay. I think it's reasonable to say that there's always going to be something that we may not be able to address or may not be able to address to its entirety. However, those high liability issues that we all see, those are things that I feel as though there's a certain amount of foreseeability that we need to be tracking with.
Yeah, no, I just, from the prosecutorial side, we've seen more wrong way drivers in the last few years than in the prior few. And that is in part due to something that Jamie Lee and others talk about, the drug piece. They're not always going 100 miles per hour, but they're going the wrong direction because of the state of where they're at with drug intoxication. So that's a scary thing that is more prevalent, at least, it used to be a very rare occurrence in some ways, and now it's just a regular affidavit we're seeing. Tony.
Yeah, question. What are the constraints on the length of the academy? So is that budgetary on the academy's part, or is it pressure from the chiefs saying, hey, get this recruit to my PD sooner? What are those constraints? Because I agree that high risk and low frequency, that's where the training needs to center on.
I think it's probably a combination of both, and I'll let the executive director jump in. I think where we've been trying so hard, given the staffing shortages throughout the state, to ensure consistency with both who we're turning out and the amount of time, also allowing them to try to recruit and hire and get into the academy. Major changes or deviations in the amount of time that the academy takes to get folks through is something that the council really needs to weigh in on and have a say with, to make sure that we're doing the best we can, while at the same time being consistent with both standards and predictability for agencies. Sir?
Yeah, I think I would just echo kind of what Ken said. But Tony, I think to answer your question, you, I'm sure, can appreciate it. One of the things that we often hear from agencies is, how long does it take to get somebody through the academy? Well, it's a year before I identify somebody and I can hire them until they're out on the road. That makes it sound like that's us the entire year, right? And that's not. 17 weeks is really a very small snippet of time from the time they get to us. But that is a process for agencies to identify background, pick the candidate that they want, and then maybe not even be successful with that candidate and then starting that clock all over again. So I think for us, it's the big push is really from the outside to keep it to the minimal amount of time that we can. But I think to answer another point of the question a little bit earlier that I heard was that one thing that we consistently get for feedback is from recruits is that they want more hands-on training. They want more scenario training. They want to feel more confident, more competent when they leave here, that they're going to be able to successfully do what's going to be asked of them. And I think we also have we've taken away some of the intro classes, like introduction to federal agencies, things that were small amounts of time that were necessary, but you can learn that once you're out in the field. It's not necessary that you have to have that ahead of time. But each time we do what we did at the last council meeting and we invite folks here and they get a chance to see what goes on, we've already gotten very specific requests about a very narrow piece of training that we'd like to have more of. And now the group that I belong to of this interest, we want you to do more of that in the academy. And where do you add and where do you stop at, those requests? Those are some of the constant pressures that go on.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ken. And the next step for us, we're going to hear some more experts next week, which will be really helpful. And then from there, we should get down to getting the report done. And I think at this point, my inbox hasn't been flooded with the golden ticket idea for the alternative pathway, other than we seem to have some consensus on area of focus and investment would be level 2 to level 3 area, which lines up nicely with if we were to get at the heart of what some of those legislative questions are and our best response. Feels like that's an area where there's some good consensus. How do we get some of those folks from level 2 to level 3? And the director brought up at our last council meeting, there was a level 2 person who many of us know, who's a very well qualified level 2 person, who the academy is now, we're going to consider how we come up with a process for some of those folks anyway. So how can we think about what we're doing here to get some of our motivated level 2 folks into level 3 or into level 2 with added scope, and if there's anything we're doing here that can help with that process, ideas, curriculum, all that sort of thing. But really the only things that we really received, just want to do a little review. Chris had sent along what had come up a few years ago, which is posted to the agenda today, a couple page document posted online. Bill had come up with a schematic for how to think about some of these issues. We've obviously come up with a definition that was well discussed and took up a few meetings, and then some guiding principles that I think are a great place for us. And then, I had some draft responses to the 2 legislative questions. And I think after we hear from our folks next week, we can throw up the Word document on the screen and just get that report done and leave this in a good place for the council, and maybe we stand ready to consult again in the future. I don't know what you think, Bill and Mr. Chair and Mr. Director, but I think we've reached a good saturation point for a lot of this discussion and collected a lot of good testimony thus far and going forward. With an idea that I think lines up with everyone. Workforce development was in our guiding principles and everything like that, but that's not going to go away anytime soon. I was testifying yesterday about a substantial drop off in county per diem capacity for one of our key government functions, transporting people, has fallen off dramatically in the field in terms of our sheriffs, county employees. So anyway, we're seeing it across the board. I know everyone else is. Does that sound fairly good in terms of contemplating where we're headed here? It's not going to be a 200-page report. Everyone's okay with that? Yeah. Great. If you have any burning ideas between now and then, consider them attachments to the report that I'm happily toss on as attachments and addenda. Great.
Yeah, Tim, if I could, just random thought. I think maybe one of the things that we want to, that would be helpful in the report to provide a little bit of a map and to continue the momentum for some future continued exploration. I'd like to see continued exploration of these concepts. Is to kind of laundry list the challenges. We've got a lot of trade-offs here, right? And I think as much to educate the legislature and others that this isn't as simple to saying, well, the academy's too long. How do we make it shorter? It's more than that. Ken brought up, a lot of very important pieces about scenarios and application, right? Tying it all together. And you can make the argument the academy needs to be longer. Are there ways we could make, I don't know, how do we address these? So kind of outlining some of the challenges as an educational function for others, and particularly in the legislature who might be looking at this. And I don't know exactly what all that is yet, but I think Ken pointed out one today. We see, learning theory, et cetera, that application of principle is extremely important, right? So how do we provide more opportunity to do that, right? And no, you're not going to get a fully baked police officer in 3 weeks, right? We can't change. And a lot of what I hear as I'm kind of looking at this is we can't change the process through which wisdom is accrued. Insurance companies have figured this out, right? About insurance rates and what happens to the brain by age 25. And, you mentioned that with the car, right? Putting somebody behind a V8 that's 18 and, right, you're not going to get that wisdom. It's just, you got to keep chipping at it to get there, and the more training and the more safe experiences you have to get there, the better it is. So that's just some rambling thoughts.
Yeah, and one area with purse strings attached to it that I think is a nice idea for the future, maybe not this legislative session based on tea leaves, but the idea of providing supplemental approved support to field agencies that are interested in doing more work with a consolidated, whether it's Ken or someone at the academy signing off on, hey, here's the other 8 hours if we had time that we would have done in this way. And rather than just, thinking about it one way, having some money attached to that for agencies that are willing to play ball with some of that statewide sign off, and whether it's some of this alternative conversation or whether it's, hey, if we had another 5 days of the academy, here's what we would do with, the vehicle work, here's what we do with use of force, and putting money with it. I mean, I know it's, whether it's a League of Cities and Towns, the municipalities, sheriffs, there's no one coming with a bunch of money at this point to add to our training core, other than what we currently have. And there's a lot of pressures on on budgeting things going forward. So, we'll always make the request, but where I think it's almost having some of that future looking piece, and not losing hope of the fact that we may have access to more resources in the future, even if we don't have them right now, and putting it out there and almost thinking about it, incentive style grants, right, from a statewide entity to improve training in the field that's been approved by a central entity, to improve quality, improve access, and I think we've collected a lot of good information about what that might look like in certain circumstances. And some of it is going to have to be human being out in the world doing things as a person, and some of it could be online. And what that looks like, and having a central entity approving that, is going to continue to be a part of Vermont's law enforcement culture, which is good. Yep.
I think a thing to remember is that the question is not, is online better than in person? That's the wrong question. The question is, how can you use these modalities? And Leslie, provided us in her brief the various modalities that CCV uses. How can you structure a set of modalities to make that in-person time the most effective it can be? That's the question. It's not one's better than the others. We got to go all one way or all another. In my mind, it's how do we use the technology that we have available and the approaches and what we know about learning and training development that we have today? How do we use those to provide the best outcome? That to me, that's the question that I always struggle with.
Yeah.
It can be fun. It can be fun mapping those things out, but it's also can be very disruptive and threatening to do that. It's because you have to question, like, well, why are we doing this way?
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say is, after next week, I think what I'll probably do is attach some very, very drafty version of a report that, thinking about how the minutes will always be a part of the body of work here, and the recordings, to summarize some of what we've done. And if everyone could, not next week, but it'll be after next week, so really leading into the last couple of weeks of September and into early October, really take a look at that. And if there's things that you want to bring up, as a reminder, don't do a big reply all to the group. Again, unless you want that posted online, save it for the meeting, and bring language that you'd like to include to the meeting itself. Otherwise, we have to just post the emails if there's live discussion of things, and that's fine, but I don't think we want that as a practice, as a group under the open meeting law. So just as a reminder, as we start to think about the report writing, the drafting process has to happen here. And sometimes you can do things like, assign, if anyone wants to volunteer helping me and others with it, I think that would be great. I know the academy staff will be really helpful, and some of them are not task force members, so I can work with them, but basically saying, hey, here's language, I'm going to email it to you, and please include this type of thing in the report during the meeting itself. that's a good way to accomplish things. So kind of coming prepared and having read things will be helpful. And also, I think making sure that you're checking with if you have an agency head, if there's something they want included, if you have a elected person or something like that that you need to talk with, thinking about that between now and October will be really helpful. I've been a part of group meetings before where that didn't happen until the last 12 hours before the report was published, and there was lots of heartache. So we'll try to avoid that as best we can. And luckily, we're not doing anything too controversial here. We're talking about a legislative request. That's, where we're at, but do have those conversations with your elected folks as you see fit before we get to that October timeframe. And I think that, any other floor is open to all of you. Anything we want to talk about today? We've got a little time, and we could also give you back that time. Oh, John, Chief Polway. Oh, you're muted there, Chief.
Having a hard day with my technology today.
No worries.
So just one comment I wanted to make, and I know our main focus has been on modalities and the method of instruction, how to make the academy more efficient, perhaps the hybrid model of shortening the physical time at the academy with either remote or online training to supplement that. So one of the things, though you had mentioned, Tim, is about the focus on 2 to 3, which was part of the charge originally for us. So one of my interests in that route is because I have an officer who is in that category. And because there was no direct path forward, in a very rudimentary way, what I did with that officer is I sat down with them, and they have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, about 14 years on the job with various training, multiple trainings, plus the 2-week academy. And then we took everything. So we took the curriculum from the 3-week academy. We took all the courses that she had taken in her bachelor's degree, and we took all the trainings that she had. And I compared them, across each other. And we were able to identify literally a handful of courses that we felt they should engage in to get them up as close as to level 3 as possible. So that's the process I'm in right now. I did it myself because there is no formal process right now. So I think there's a lot of benefit to that. And if we want to train our people up, so Roger always talks about this state couldn't function without level 2 officers, and I agree with that observation. But I think it would be beneficial not to overlook the 2 to 3 if we could create that structure or that bridge. Again, maybe we can get a group of individuals who are level 2 up to level 3, and that I understand that hasn't been the main focus of what we're doing, but I just didn't want that to get lost either. I think there's a great benefit to that if we were able to identify it. So if based on the process that I did, then I'm on the waiver committee. So then based on the homework that we did, if we were to produce that or give it to the waiver committee and have them give us their interpretation of it, maybe there are only a handful of courses that would allow my officer, if they could take either via the academy or whatever modality that we were talking about, whatever medium in terms of training, that could be a simple solution to training a bunch of people up in this state. So I just wanted to put that out there. The director gave me an in a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't take it. So I just wanted to make sure I had mentioned that. And I think there's great value to it, and it shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chief. Thank you. Sheriff Marcoux.
Thank you. So my thought was when we started this process that we would be looking more at that level 2 to level 3, or I should say that years ago in the legislature, that was something that was driving the conversation. And unfortunately, I don't think that we're there yet. But, the other piece of this is that in this state, everybody looks at this level 3 title and they say, hey, to be the best trained cop you can be, that's what you've got to be. But when you're working certain jobs, the level 3, many of the classes that are in that are not needed, but there needs to be more emphasis on certain classes like use of force and firearms, perhaps, when you're working transports. And for those of you that don't know, pre-COVID, we transported 6,000 people. So that's not just a side conversation. And then court security. So I still think that this committee needs to plod on, because we haven't come up with any solutions that I can see. And I think it's more than just, yep, we did it and we met, and here's some ideas, here's some people that we met with, and here's the report. I'd like to see us kind of plot ahead until we can get some concrete ideas that are practical. But I think that the state has to look like, do we really need level 3 transport officers in this state? Because they're not investigating major crimes. What they need is extra training with security and use of force, evac, and things like that. So, we've kind of pigeonholed ourselves, into if you're going to be level 3, these are all the courses you need to take. I can't even get a level 2 fully certified unless they've taken an extra class on search and rescue. Is that really necessary? When that's an important thing, but that could be taught, in a different way. So anyways, I think I still think our work is not done. So, thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I'll just say this. I'm happy to, I'm not going to be the author of where we go. I'm happy to continue to chair and convene. And if people want to, put ideas out there, I think that this is the right forum. And so we're not done yet. And so especially after next week, when we hear from folks on the higher ed piece, I think we'll be in a position to respond to the legislative report, in terms of what we need to do there. But I think particularly with some of Chair Clement's comments, this conversation is not going away. If our goal is workforce development in Vermont for law enforcement, it can't go away, because it's just going to come back up again. It really will. So understanding that we are not done with the conversation, even if we write a responsive report, get that thing going. I consider myself invested in continuing to learn more about this. I don't know if Leslie feels the same way as non-law enforcement on here, but I continue to stay invested in this because of my proximity to law enforcement as a profession, and it's one of the basic pillars of government that we have. So we need to continue to build that workforce. But definitely, Roger's had lots of discussions over the years on some of these issues, and there are some new sheriffs out there that Roger's working with and that we're working with. But we do hear it, from our end of things, that we need to continue to build the workforce out and create flexible pathways to bolster that workforce. So if people have ideas, put them right out there, and we can continue the conversation, whether it's a part of this group or future conversations. For sure. I think there's both the responsive report and then where we go from here, not the end of the conversation, I think. Yeah. Oh, Director.
Yeah, just real quickly, not that I'm in disagreement with Roger, but in short answer to things like search and rescue and, transport deputies, those are things called statutory mandates that we didn't create, that we were dealt with. And, some of those things we provide training for because we're required to. But don't lose hope, because, there was a pathway that was designed and was utilized by one level 2E to a level 3. And I can see a pathway where there is a waiver subcommittee that really does review what somebody's background, experience, and training record is, that helps shape and decide, other than the poor director of administration here trying to go and verify for multiple people that come in and ask for it. What would those requirements be that they need to get to that level? And is this a reasonable process? I mean, it's all in what that waiver committee will take a look at and justify. They've got to be able to justify that that training is going to be equal to, you know, what a level 3 officer would have. So I think a process does already exist. Can it be refined a lot better? Sure, absolutely. So that's what we're also hoping, that there's some work on that as well.
Yeah, and Colonel Stedman.
Just the director's comments made me think, in conjunction with the comments from, I believe it was one of the senators last week. It might be good to put in the recommendation going forward that legislative recommendations be removed, and let the experts figure out what path for education is required. Because to Roger's point, a transport deputy doesn't need to know how to do search and rescue. They're not going to do it. That's a waste of time. But yet it's mandated, and the academy's stuck with that. So perhaps that not their lack of knowledge is not, it's not intentional. It's just, it's not their area of expertise. And let's give the experts the opportunity to build the curriculum necessary for the job tasks that are being performed. So I don't know if that's part of the minutes. If nothing else, at least I said it. So
Absolutely, it's part of the minutes. Confirmed. Thank you very much. Well, and I think, you know, we are in legislative prep season right now. I know I'm meeting with all the state's attorneys on Friday, and then Sheriff Marcoux and Mark Anderson and myself will chat with the sheriffs at some point this fall about some of their priorities. And I also know the council is setting up a legislative subcommittee. So there's lots of discussion on that front in terms of if there's anything from this that we want to do, including saying things like you just said, Colonel Stedman. Let us, give us the tools to do the job without overly prescribing the end point. Yeah, we'll quote you directly. Well, you'll be the one that will quote on that.
please do.
Yes,
Please do.
Mr. Chair.
No, I just, you know, I think, again, thinking about the report, you know, there are challenges, but also some recommendations. I heard several of them in this conversation at the end of the meeting. I mean, one that's been in the back of my mind is, I think the waiver committee is going to be a valuable option going forward as we start to look at alternatives, importing things. But I think the recommendation would be to, as Chris Burkell pointed out, you know, there may need to be some improvements. You got to get the criteria in place. We got to have a clear understanding of how other training is going to be evaluated and what the criteria are, particularly relative to. And IADList has given us a good run on having the learning objectives and things that are in the academy curriculum. The stuff about level 2 to level 3, I mean, that's central. I'm on board with that. That's become very apparent to me that's like the low hanging fruit here. That's the obvious thing that we need to be addressing. But to give Chief Polway some more structure around, well, how do I do this? How does it fit in? And what's going to be accepted, right? Again, that gets back to what are those criteria in that pathway. That's a pathway. You just described a pathway to get there. So I think maybe some recommendations on next steps from the report would be helpful. Doesn't mean we have to do it. I've said it before. This report, we're not going to solve the problem in this report, but we should point to a direction, right? At least a quadrant. We should be moving in a quadrant anyway, not to an exact point, but is there a direction we could go to really dig into things and say, no, this will work, this isn't going to work, right? So over. That's it. That's it for me. I'm done for the day.
Thank you so much, Bill. So anything else? We're gonna have further folks next week. And Leslie, who are we hearing from next week again, just for the group to be reminded?
I think Brandon Stroop from Vermont State University. Lindsay, is that right? Is Brandon next week? And then Melissa DeBlois? Are they the folks
Correct.
coming?
Yes,
Yeah,
they're
then-
all coming next week.
Okay, so Brandon Stroop is a professor of criminal and restorative justice at VTSU, and Melissa DeBlois is the director of prior learning assessment from the Vermont State Colleges system.
Great. That's great. So come with questions ready to go for these great folks that we don't normally get to interact with. It's a really good opportunity for us to collect some information, including in that scope of level 2 to level 3. Is there something there? Is there other professions? Everyone's got their dentist. Every single person at a dentist's office these days have, in Vermont, a lot of them have utilized something like an alternate pathway in some ways to become a hygienist, and then continuing to go to school, get a job, raise a family. So there is things, I'm not saying dental hygienist is the same thing as carrying a firearm, but they do have tools that can cause damage. So I'll leave you with that. I'm going to the dentist in the morning. So just for cleaning, don't worry, nothing major. But anyway, it's a great opportunity to use our state system of higher ed to say, how are you thinking about these things in our workforce development here in Vermont? And agriculture, like I know, Roger wears multiple hats, including sometimes milking cows. And, we do still send people to college in Vermont who want to come out and work on the land. And that's a special set of skills, also can be highly dangerous and high risk. So thank you all for today. I presume there may be no more questions. And with that, if there are no more questions, any public comment from anyone out there I haven't seen? Okay, great. I would entertain a motion to adjourn until next week.
So move.
Make a motion.
Second,
Yeah.
third, fourth, whatever.
Great. Multiple people. I leave it to Lindsay to account for. All in favor, say aye. Great. And we will see you all next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.